Happy Wednesday, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of Trading the Markets. I'm Bijan Maleki, and of course, I'm joined by Kris Bullock, aka Blasto Plas. This is the show where we talk about, our favorite trades that we have going on right now, anything that we're interested in looking at. And of course, we dive into the charts and your questions. So if you do have any questions, please be sure to put them in the live chat on X or on the platform, and we'll be sure to get to as many as we can. Just a reminder, Kris releases a portfolio twice a month that is kind of an entry-level crypto portfolio. It's a nice basket of, Bitcoin and some, higher risk trades. He's up 117% since the portfolio's inception. So Kris, absolutely great stuff. I know people that have been following along have really been happy with their returns. We've got another update coming for you on Friday, so make sure you check that out. He doesn't just talk about his trades, he talks about why he's entering them, shows you some charts, and gives a nice little report on what's going on with the portfolio. So if you want the latest macro trends, alpha, insights, crypto news, and more, make sure you sign up to Real Vision, especially the Connect tier, so you can get Kris's portfolio and you can get Joe Bland's portfolio as well, because he's also up almost 50% since his 3-month portfolio inception. So we've got a lot of stuff going on. So make sure you sign up and take in on the action. Just a quick reminder, we discuss this all day, every day in our Discord. So if you want to stress test ideas or, just talk through some trades or what's on your mind, just join us in the Discord and let's get the party started. With that, Kris, we've got a couple of charts to look into, some on the macro side before maybe we dive into some specific, charts as well. So what's on your mind this Wednesday?
Yeah. So I just wanted to kind of set the stage by giving a little bit of a macro picture first and talking about the dollar index and the global M2 liquidity chart. Basically, just to illustrate that everything is looking good right now. I really wanted to call out this dollar index chart because we're seeing a nice series of lower highs and lower lows here, which is telling me that obviously the dollar index is in a structural downtrend and is continuing to go lower. Meanwhile, we've got M2. It had a little bit of a correction here, but it's reversed and is, launching back up again. So liquidity is coming into the system at the same time the dollar is in a structural downtrend, which is good. And I continue to maintain the belief that this dollar chart is going to actually keep going all the way down to the low 90s or even high 80s, similar to where it's bottomed out in both of the previous sort of crypto peak timing bands, back in 2021 here and then back in early 2018 here. So I still think there's a ways to go for the dollar index. And I think that this trend, this pattern will continue. And before too long, we will set yet another lower low here to continue this pattern. So I think overall, things are moving in the right direction. However, in the short term, I think with just crypto specifically, it got a little bit over its skis over the last week or so. I think got a little bit overheated. We're starting to see a lot of momentum divergences across the board, which I'll get into. And I think we're due for maybe just a little bit of a short-term correction here. Maybe, and it could be as soon as like tomorrow or the next day, and it could be very quick. And what I mean by that is what I'm looking at for Bitcoin in particular. It's been trending sideways for a few days now. We had a DMARC 9 that kind of marked the end of this little rally that we had here, and since then we've been going sideways. But I keep looking at this 20-day moving average. It's sort of starting to jump out at me as a likely touch point that we're going to see soon. And if you'll notice, the level is right around 15,500, give or take. And that actually coincides perfectly with what we're seeing in terms of, let's see, liquidation heat map right now. I'm looking at this liquidation heat map, meaning this is where pockets of liquidity are for shorts to get liquidated and things like that, or longs rather. And so if we look here, we can see that it's hovering. There's a big concentration right around this 15,500 range, like this whole cluster right here. And so it would make sense for market makers to want to capture that liquidity before they run it up to the upside. And so that again that coincides perfectly with this 20-day moving average. So it wouldn't surprise me at all to see just like a quick wick down, flush out that liquidity, and then kind of bounce from there. So that's really what I'm looking at in the short term. Obviously, that's going to impact all of the other crypto market as well. So, and we could see a little bit more sort of blood in the streets for the next day or two or three, whatever, while that takes place. As we go through a lot of these other charts, we'll see just a lot of the same thing. We're seeing a lot of quick short-term corrections, a lot of touches down to support levels and things like that across the board. So it's nothing to worry about. I think, again, overall, fundamentally, everything is fine. This is just sort of the natural ebb and flow of charts, but I do think we're in a phase right now where we're looking for a little bit of a reset, for the markets to sort of catch their breath, to come back and wait for the moving averages to catch up. And then, we'll be ready for another leg up, I think, over the next probably month or so. But that's where we're at in the short term.
And I think this is a good time to remind everyone that Raul has said many times in the past, and I just want to echo this again, that these types of corrections are pretty normal in a bull market. So, just be aware of that. And in my opinion, these are great times to just, kind of top off your bags and just, add more. If you feel like you didn't have enough last time, well, these are opportunities to be adding. You want to buy on these red days and not the green days, right? The price, even though the price looks better when things are pumping, it's really the time you should be buying is when we have these dips. So just keep that in mind as we kind of navigate through these next few days.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, that's kind of the name of the game right now is we're coming in on a lot of buying opportunities, I think pretty much across the board. Some are better than others. But yeah, that's if you're looking to enter over the next day or two is probably going to be an ideal time, I think.
And I guess you just kind of teed this question up perfectly. I know we don't get to questions this early in the show, but Seba Andres in our Discord wanted to know within your portfolio which cryptos from the safest, Sui, Sol, ETH, XRP, and riskier, Pengu, Lo-Fi, Rekt, Deep, Fartcoin, do you think are at a good entry price right now? What do you think about that, Kris?
Yeah,
I think you have a
great.
few of them lined up.
Perfect. Great question for sure. I did go through all of those, and some of them do look a little bit better than others. So on the safer side, I'm going to call out Sui. Let's look at that real quick, and then XRP are the two. But Sui's actually had a bit of a correction already. Like it peaked out, I think, a good several days before everything else did, and sort of started trending back down. So it's, I think, in the latter stages of its corrective phase already. It's a few days ahead of the likes of like Solana and Ethereum, for example, that have been continuing to rally all the way up until like yesterday or today even. So Sui looks good for me as a good buy, and it might even keep going down. You have to remember, if Bitcoin goes down a little bit more over the next day or two, you might even get a better entry still. So maybe today, right now, this minute isn't ideal for any of these, but just be patient, sit on it, and look for maybe a little bit further down, and you might even get a touchdown to like the 20-day moving average here on Sui as well. But Sui is one of them, and then XRP was the other. Kind of similar thing in that it also peaked a little bit earlier than the likes of Ethereum and Solana. So it too has a pretty solid down day today, and it might even come down a little bit further. I don't know if I see it going all the way down to its 20-day, but you can see it is pretty overextended. Its RSI has been really, really overheated. We're seeing that pretty much across the board on a lot of these right now. So those two of the four, those two look the best in terms of like the buys right now in this minute or in the next day or so. And then of the further out the risk curve ones, Pengu and Lo-Fi still look a little bit hot to me, but Rekt, Deep and Fartcoin, I think look really good. Let's see. Let's look at Deep real quick. Yeah, Deep has had a nice reset. It kind of came back down, and it's coming back down to its 20-day moving average right here. It's broken down through. It's funny, things actually, even just in the last few minutes, I feel like are a lot redder than they were in the lead up to the show, in the moments leading up to the show. So we're getting an active flush like as we're talking right now live, but it's coming down. You can see to its 20-day moving average as well. So that's going to be a really good buying opportunity, I think, for Deep. And then Fartcoin 2 was another one. It's obviously a little bit structurally a little bit better off, but I was expecting it to kind of come back down and touch this support level, this sort of breakout level that it had broken out from back here and tested as support. Right now, it's a little bit below it. It could keep going. You might even get lucky and get a touchdown at the 10-day on this. Like I said, if Bitcoin decides to come down for another day or two. So maybe hold off on this. Again, we're seeing a lot of downward price action literally in this moment as we're on the air. So be patient, I think, and see if we get a little bit further downside. But those are the ones that I identified from that list here that you called out. So yeah.
Thank you for the question, Siba. Kris, do you think this is maybe, for us looking at those entries, and obviously you're never going to time that perfect entry. Do you think this is a great opportunity where you maybe start layering in some buy orders to
Yeah.
have them hit? Because, not everyone can just sit at their computer and watch them every day.
Yeah, no, exactly. That's perfect, perfect advice. And I do often say, look at the moving averages, as those are my typical go-to buy levels for uptrends in particular, because they often come back and touch moving averages. I can pull up any chart and you'll often get touches either right on the 10 or like right on the 20, just like we had here and kind of just like we had here. Sometimes you just get the 10, sometimes you're lucky and you get it all the way to the 20, kind of depending on sort of how overextended it is to begin with. If it's really overextended, you might only come back down to the 10. If it's in a more of a flatter pattern, you'll sometimes get touches all the way to the 20. So look for those levels as sort of your guideposts for where you might set orders. And maybe it doesn't go all the way down to the 20, maybe it just goes to the 10 or somewhere in between, but look for those as, again, the guideposts for where you might want to start layering in those orders.
Very well said. All right, so I want to talk about, because one coin that we've talked about quite a bit recently is Syrup, and Ash just hosted the CEO and co-founder Sidney Powell of Maple Finance for a nice conversation, and from that conversation, we had a few trade ideas born. One from Melvin Chea and one from MA, who just both put in some Syrup orders. Melvin has a really in-depth analysis on his Syrup trade. Obviously got a lot of information from that great interview. So definitely check out that trade idea. But Kris, what are you seeing in Syrup?
It's funny, before the show in the lead up, I actually had identified Syrup as a pretty good buy, because it's kind of already had a pretty good correction. I remember highlighting it on a show like a couple of weeks ago, back when it was starting to roll over, and commenting how it looks like it had lost momentum. We were seeing a lot of momentum, like bearish momentum divergences here. Each successive RSI peak was lower than the previous one, and then it really, really bottomed out. And now we're starting to see actual like bullish divergences to the upside, and a bottoming out of that momentum. And we've got a DMARC 9 here. We've got a number of bullish divergences now, and we're starting to see it coming back up. So to me, it looks like Syrup has actually shown a bit of a technical bottoming pattern from its earlier correction here. And I think that it's back on the rebound at this point. And so to me, this actually looks like one of the better short-term setups. I can't necessarily comment on its overall upside, long-term upside, but in terms of like a technical setup, this looks like a really good bottoming, reversal pattern. And so I think that both of those trade setups that came in on the Real Vision website are good entry points, and this could be a good, again, short-term runner for right now. I think it's one of the better looking setups that I've seen, of all the ones in my watch list right now.
Mm. Thank you. Yeah, thank you for putting in those trades, guys. Keep the trade ideas coming. We just people like me just scour through those trade ideas to just get alpha. I've picked up on a few trades from that as well that have performed well that I would have never ever have thought of. So just keep putting them in. They're helping a lot of people that you don't even realize with your great work. And obviously, the more detailed, the better. So, Kris, before we maybe dive into a few other charts, I want to take this overall question from Jordan that comes in on the RV website. What is going to be the catalyst to take us higher, boys? And how long can this banana frenzy last? What do you think about that? What are we looking at for maybe a catalyst to just really go parabolic here?
Well, I mean, it's going to take a bit of an inflection point for retail to kind of come back in mass, but we've got all of the tailwinds in place, from the new regulatory regime that's coming online, the Genius Act that was signed into law, and, the clarity that's going through Congress right now, all of that combined with like, I feel like every day I'm seeing new ETF news or new treasuries coming online or things like that. Or there was the Bitwise fund that got converted to an ETF recently. So now fundamental TradFi is getting access to even some altcoins via these sort of fringier ETFs, that are coming online now. So we're seeing institutional money get access to the broader crypto space. Now, of course, it's not way out the risk curve into everything, but like it seems like, again, every day we're seeing more and more sort of little ways for big money to come into the system via, traditional TradFi rails. And I think that's really exciting. And so combined with just lots of people buying Bitcoin, and Bitcoin's going up, and ETH is going up, and Bitcoin dominance is going down. And again, I think we're just going to reach this inflection point pretty soon here, where your parents' friends start asking you about Bitcoin and how do I buy this stuff, and you're starting to see it a little bit already. Just random people coming out of the woodwork asking you, and that's when you know that it's sort of reaching the larger consciousness of the culture, and I think we're starting to see that happen. And I think, again, it'll get to a point where it's just going to rip, because suddenly everybody's going to want in, and they'll start to see the number going up, and it's going to be helped by Bitcoin itself going up and reaching new highs, and total crypto market cap reaching new highs, and pretty soon that's going to just end up more and more in the news, and more people are going to start hearing about it, more people are going to start talking about it, and again, it'll just take off. And so that's typically how it plays out,
Yeah, it's like the Uber driver meme, right? When your Uber driver starts giving you coin recommendations, we might be in a absolute bull market. I also think the Robinhood, the new products that Robinhood is releasing, like the tokenized stock trading, I think just all the work that they're doing to just get on chain and really push crypto to their users, I think is going to be huge. We've already seen that catalyst forming, but I cannot underestimate, or you guys cannot underestimate how powerful Robinhood is in all of this, I think, because last cycle, everyone remembers GameStop, AMC, with all the retail traders, all of that was like on Robinhood, right? So I think this cycle, we don't have that, but they have crypto now, and they're going to be buying whatever coins that they, come to their mind, instead of like buying the GME and GameStop stuff, or AMC stuff. And then they're also going to just take that further down the risk curve and start buying meme coins. So I think Robinhood is going to be a very powerful catalyst in this upcoming market. So keep an eye on them.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh,
Moonshot too is one that I'm
yeah.
intrigued by. That's because that's giving access to all the degen stuff, like very easy, frictionless access to all of the memes and all the crazy stuff. And actually, speaking of that real quick, that's a perfect segue into, I just learned today, right before the show, that TradingView now has a meme, like a meme.c symbol that is a meme coin market cap symbol that you can just load on, which is super cool. So I've got that in my watch list now, and it basically aggregates like the top 100 memes, and it pulls data from CoinMarketCap and CoinGecko. So it updates dynamically based on whatever the top 100 kind of memes, or the memes are in the top 100 market cap. So it's not like a fixed list of specific memes, but as it ebbs and flows, that list will update dynamically. And things are obviously looking good, although everything is really ugly down right now across the board again. But yeah, I thought that was a cool feature, and that'll be helpful for a lot of analysis going forward. So yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Speaking of meme coins, do you have any, we know we love SPX here. We love Pengu. We love rekt, Lo-Fi as well. Do you have any meme coins before we kind of wrap the show up that are maybe on your radar, or something that you're looking at here?
I mean, I got to call out rekt. It just blew right by this DMARC 13 like it didn't even exist. Like it just like what, I mean, it's up 13. Well, it's up 10% right now, when the entire rest of the market is blood in the streets. So shout out to rekt. I mean, it's doing really well. Another one that's kind of caught my eye, although it's again very, very risky, even compared to rekt, is this America Party. And I had kind of written it off and sort of dismissed it, kind of left it for dead because it bled out. But I've noticed it's sort of held this moving average and has slowly climbed back up, and it's now up 31% on the day too. So obviously very risky. This is complete like lunch money type chart. You don't want to put anything more than you can afford to lose into this. But it didn't die, and it held this moving average, and now it's starting to bounce back up. So this could be a fun just a fun thing to again play with if you're feeling sort of degenny. But those are the two that caught my eye. Outside of that, there's other ones that continue to look good. Pengu is still showing a lot of strength. It's still way above its 10-day moving average, and continues to just, outpace everything lately. Even SPX structurally looks really good. Despite having a big red day today, it actually, in this same daily candle, granted it was last night for us in the US, set a new all-time high. So despite it being down 7% on the day, it has already set a new all-time high today. So that's great. And it's still, again, way above its 10-day moving average, structurally looks better than most. So there's definitely some memes that are holding up well. I think I looked at what was it, this chart here, real quick, the altcoin season index, and of the top 10, like 4 or 5 of the top 10 crypto assets are meme coins, and then or 3 of the top 4 and 5 of the top 10 or something like that. So anybody who fades meme coins in general, I think, is completely just missing the boat with crypto right now. Memes are absolutely legit, and they're leading everything right now. So and I think they're going to continue to.
Just another update on your portfolio. This information is a little bit dated, so I assume it's higher now. But when you entered SPX into the entry level portfolio for Connect members, it is up over 230% since it's been entered. It's just absolutely great stuff. So yeah, guys, make sure you check those updates out. I know I've said that before, but yeah, you definitely should be checking those out. Kris does a lot of work charting these and really, puts that into there and make sure you're not getting wrecked, but also that you can capture some upside.
Yeah, I'm checking the live price. It's actually up 4x in that portfolio right now at this moment. So yeah.
Absolutely amazing. All right, everyone, that's going to be it for trading the markets today, but we'll be back on Monday for our live TA show in Discord. And of course, we'll be back next Wednesday for another episode of Trading the Markets. I do want to say that while you are trading, and while you are, some of you are degenning into stuff, or some of you are trying to mitigate your risk, it's always important to remember security. So, Kris has done a 6-part security series on our website called Protecting Your Crypto Assets. So make sure you check those out. He walks you through setting up a ledger, just a whole bunch of things. And we have another episode dropping later this month as well that'll help you kind of keep security at the top of your mind, because these gains are nothing if you're not keeping them safe. So make sure you check that out if you need a little update on security and good security health practices. Until then, guys, we'll see you on Wednesday. Try not to get wrecked, and let's keep an eye out for some great buying opportunities. And if you find a great coin that you think is a good buying opportunity, leave it in the comments below, and we'll check up on it next week. Have a great one, everyone.